I'll tell you when though. Okay. Do you have a break? Do you have a the swoosh? Got it. All right, Dan, we are good to go. All right, good Sunday morning, everybody. 5 News Chief Meteorologist Scott Covert here, tracking some severe weather early on our Sunday morning. We've got a line of storms moving in from the west. This line has been packing a punch all the way back in parts of central Oklahoma. It's maintained its strength moving into our area, and now we've got a severe thunderstorm warning for Benton, Washington, Crawford, parts of Adair, parts of Delaware, even a small sliver of Sequoia County. The primary concern with this line is actually going to be damaging winds and about 70 miles per hour. So we're talking some pretty strong straight line winds moving into our neck of the woods with this line. It's early. A lot of folks probably getting those alerts early this morning. So wanted to be here for you, wanted to walk you through it. We'll take a tighter look into northwest Arkansas, get an idea of exactly who is going to be impacted by this storm. It includes cities like Fayetteville, Bentonville, Rogers, and Springdale. Of course, you've got Goshen, Siloam Springs, Johnson also included in this line of storms. Pretty impressive structure, linear structure there. This is called a squall line. It's pretty common for the type of weather we see around this area. And it is going to exhibit not only the potential for some strong straight line winds, we're also looking at a potential for 3/4 inch size hail. So just shy of the size of a quarter in addition to those strong straight line winds coming out of the storm. We'll take a look at velocity, and what we're going to find here, there's some pretty bright colors, and the brighter these colors are on the leading edge of our line system here indicates to us that those are those really strong winds. Now, I'm not finding any rotation right now, but I do got to tell you, this same line of storms has had numerous tornado warnings up until probably about 30 minutes ago. So it is going to be capable of producing some spin-up tornadoes. I'm not seeing that right now, but given its history, I'm not ready just to discard that tornado potential. I think it might be there. Some parts of the area are under a tornado watch. That includes parts of eastern Oklahoma, and that runs until 9 o'clock this morning. Right now, the current time is 5:38. If you're just now tuning into us, we're on Facebook Live, we're on 5+, and we're on Channel 5 over the air as well. Getting ready for our 6 o'clock newscast to begin here in about 22 minutes. And we'll keep you posted with the progression of this line system. Right now, the severe aspect is pretty much in the northern flank of this storm system. The further south you go, so we're talking a good majority of Sequoia and even LaFleur County, you've got a strong storm going to be moving into your area. Certainly Fort Smith is going to feel the brunt of that here in the next, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes, but that's not severe, at least as of right now. Your severe winds that are coming out of this storm, anywhere from Crawford County, points towards the north, all the way up to the Missouri state line. This is where we would expect 70-mile-per-hour straight line winds to be pushing out of the leading edge of that storm system. We'll take a closer look back into that. And what I want to do is put a track on this. I can give you a couple of cities and locations, but this is going to give you some estimated times of arrival. And I got to tell you, the storm system's moving relatively quickly. This is moving at 50 miles per hour. So, you know, if you're on the leading edge of this storm system, you're feeling the winds now. If you're out ahead of it, you don't have a whole lot of time to, you don't necessarily need to take shelter, but I would certainly move away from any windows, just given the strength and of these winds. Currently, we're looking at Gravette, estimated time of arrival right around 5:40, so that's pretty much now. Centerton 5:50, Bentonville downtown there 5:55, downtown Fayetteville at 5:58, War Eagle 6:13, Berryville 6:38, and of course that's making progression out of our viewing area pretty quickly, just given the speed and the trajectory of this specific storm. Right now, the primary concern is likely going to be just that damaging wind aspect. Wouldn't rule out a little bit of hail. And I'm not going to rule out that potential of a couple of spin-up tornadoes. These line systems are notorious for producing these brief tornadoes. That's not to say that they're weak. That's not to say that they aren't serious. That just means they often spin up really quickly, and sometimes we don't have a whole lot of lead time ahead of those. They can just develop that quick, almost in between radar scans. So we take a close look at velocities and what that's going to be telling us. Velocity is the big fancy way of saying wind and wind speed. And what velocity is going to tell us is right now, taking a look at that latest data coming in, you've still got some really bright colors on the leading edge of that line, but I'm not finding any couplets, any rotation signals right now. If we were to see some greens maybe mixing in here on the leading edge, that would concern me right now, though. I think we're probably going to see the brunt of those straight line winds in Benton County. Certainly going to be some strong winds in the west side of Washington County there as well. All of this activity to the west of I-49, but certainly going into the Bella Vista area, heads up. You're about to get some really gusty conditions. It's been gusty all night long. Winds are out of the south, but these are thunderstorm winds that's going to be coming out of the west, pushing off towards the east. I'd like to get an idea of just how fast these winds are moving, and I suspect at radar level, so we got 75-mile-per-hour winds. We've just sampled just to the northwest of Bentonville. So this is going to be the northwest part of Benton County. 75-mile-per-hour winds at radar level. That's probably is mixing down to the ground. We had a storm spotter report of 70-mile-per-hour winds just off towards the west. And so it certainly checks out that this could be producing some really gusty winds for us out there. Taking a look back here at rain mode, and what that's going to show us is overall storm structure across the area. Very classic signal for this squall line. You're going to have the leading edge of it in this northern flank producing the most gusty winds. That's not to say we might not see some issues on the southern side, but right now it appears this is going to be the issue of most concern. What I want to do, though, while we're waiting on some new data to come in, is actually want to loop this for the last hour. And you can see a couple of things from this. You can see, one, just how quickly these storms are moving over just an hour's time. But you also notice, if you look closely, Watch your eye, lock your eye on one part of that line segment, and you're going to find that it's not as defined as it once was about an hour ago. You're not finding as much of a bowing segment as it was just an hour ago. There have been some really subtle weakening trends over the last hour, which is some good news for us, but that doesn't mean the threat's entirely past. New severe thunderstorm warning. Looks like it's just been updated. Not necessarily a new warning per se, but we have canceled our Oklahoma counties out of this warning. If you're in western side of Benton County, west of I-49 in Benton County, Washington, and the northern tier of Crawford County, you remain in this severe thunderstorm warning, which was set to expire, I believe it was about 6 o'clock. Let's take a look, make sure I'm not wrong about that. I want to give you good, correct information. That warning set to expire at, looks like that's going to be 6 a.m. this morning. So we've got about, let's see, 15, 16, 17 more minutes to go before this is either extended a little bit further, which I think is possible just given the strength of those winds. Let's see if anything changes between now and 6 o'clock. Certainly a lot can. What I'd love is this thing to weaken and folks can go back to bed and not have to worry about a severe storm early on a Sunday morning. Nonetheless, our situation right now is this. We've got the first round of what are going to be a few rounds of rain and some thunderstorms for us today. There's going to continue to be a severe weather potential today. In fact, what I'd like to do is show you the watches. We've got a lot going on. You've got a tornado watch that's in effect for all of northwestern Arkansas. It's in effect for Crawford and Franklin counties, as well as a good majority of eastern Oklahoma. That's going to run until 9 a.m. this morning. So we've got a ways to go before today's severe weather threat can lessen. Meanwhile, we've also got a pretty potent flash flooding potential. I know it's kind of hard to imagine. We've gone through one of the driest stretches of weather we've seen in quite some time, and now all of a sudden we're dealing with flash flooding potential, but these are very efficient rainmakers. There's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. In fact, we're near record territory actually in terms of moisture content, right? And that's going to continue to provide a recipe for additional flooding over the next couple of days. You got today and you've got tomorrow. And I'll tell you, tomorrow's severe weather risk is actually much higher than it is today. Myself, meteorologist Bella Grace, we'll have more on that for you coming up 5 News this morning, Sunday. That starts here at the top of the hour, right around 6 o'clock. We'll break down the full forecast for you. Right now, I want to stay focused on the impending threat of damaging winds in excess of 70 miles per hour, west side of 49, Benton County, Washington County, Crawford County. This line segment has had some signs of rotation in the immediate past over the last hour or 2 hours. In fact, it maintained numerous tornado warnings as it moved through central and eastern Oklahoma, subtly weakening over time. Good news for us, but can't necessarily let our guard down just yet. We'll see what the latest wind data out of the storm suggests. And there's a couple of things that immediately stick out to me. Number one, you do see a bit of a little eddy right here. If we were to see some rotation try to develop, it's going to be in these little eddies, these little kinks in the leading edge of that line. That's where I'm going to be most concerned. Don't necessarily see a strong signal of that yet. But now that I've seen that little kink develop there as that storm system crossed the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line, it's certainly something I'm going to watch for the next couple of minutes for us. But you also found some really bright colors here, and we're on the top end of the scale, right? So we see these yellows, and that's winds blowing away from the radar at a pretty quick pace. This is where we have 70-mile-per-hour winds coming out of the storm. Let's take a tighter look. We're going to go from Benton County to Washington to Crawford. So we're going to work our way from the north to the south pretty tightly here, get some better ideas of who exactly is going to be dealing with these straight line winds. And what we find is places like Gravette. You've got those winds right now. In fact, they probably just pushed through town. Bentonville, downtown Bentonville, you've got some really gusty straight line winds moving your direction. X and A, so here's Highfield. This is where the airport is. Bella, if you would pull up the ASOS site there at X and A, there on Max 2 or just wherever you can pull it up, and just keep me posted on what we're measuring there. I suspect it's going to be 60 to 75 mile per hour winds. Rogers next. Lowell is going to be next in line as well as this storm system quickly paces off towards the east. Here's Decatur, folks in Decatur. My heart's with you this morning. I know you've got a lot of storm anxiety, as I totally understand. You had some straight line winds move through just in the last couple of minutes. Gentry, you've also seen those straight line winds. No rotation within that part of the storm yet. Pea Ridge, Rogers, Lowell, Bentonville, Highfield, you're under the severe thunderstorm warning for the next, let's say, 14 minutes. I suspect it might actually be extended. There might be a new warning issued further downstream, just given the fact that it's still packing a punch when it comes to these winds. All right, let's work our way a little bit further towards the south. Heads up Springdale. You're going to be getting these winds here pretty soon as well. Tawnytown, Fayetteville, Greenland, Prairie Grove, Farmington. Those winds are picking up over the next couple of minutes. If you live along 412, right now, the leading edge of this line has just passed through Siloam Springs. So Siloam, you're probably getting a lot of rain right now. Winds are probably still pretty breezy, but the worst of which is passed off to your east. This is traveling due east. So if you live anywhere along 412 between Siloam and Springdale, heads up. It's about to get really windy really quick. We're talking damaging straight line winds. Prairie Grove, I know you guys just went through a hard time just a couple of days ago with that EF1 tornado. These winds can cause just as much issues for us out there. So I want you to be on guard between now and let's say the next 15, 20 minutes, and let's let that threat just pass on through. Here's Greenland. Bella, another ASOS site there at Drake Field you might want to be monitoring. If you see something of interest, just flag me down and I'll come over to you. Downtown Fayetteville, if you got kids on campus there, it's about to get really breezy, so you might want to give folks there a heads up. Not necessarily a situation, at least as of right now, where we're seeing an immediate tornado threat. But one of the concerns with a line of storms like this is that potential that we can get a quick spin-up tornado. These squall lines are notorious, especially in the overnight hours, of producing those quick spin-up tornadoes. So I want to be mindful of that. As I'm talking about these winds, I'm also looking for that sign of rotation. These things can happen really quickly. It's not like a classic supercell tornado that you can see grow from a cell, and you can see a hook echo, and you can see the progression. This thing happens really, really quick, just given the nature of how these leading storms work. In Crawford County, technically in that severe thunderstorm warning, but I'll tell you, I'm not seeing a lot of damaging winds, certainly not as strong as it is in Benton or Washington County right now. Nonetheless, if you live along State Highway 220, that's where the worst of the winds are right now. Soon, it was going to be crossing 49, just to the north of Mountainburg, passing along 71. Heads up, Winslow. You're going to get some really strong winds here soon. Technically, you're not in the warning, but I'll tell you, you probably will be, if not pretty close to it over the next couple of minutes. Back out into a Northwest Arkansas picture, I'm going to give you an idea, a broader perspective of who could potentially be in a warning, a second warning, should it be issued by the Weather Service out of Tulsa. It'd probably be the eastern half of Benton County, so we're talking anywhere along Beaver Lake, eastern half of Washington County. Goshen would be included in that, Elkins likely as well. Yet to be determined if they would warn for that southern flank of the storm. Of course, this is coming out of the Weather Service office in Tulsa. I'll tell you though, wouldn't be a bad idea, just given the linear and bowing segment that is developing and maintaining its strength here with this specific storm. All of it's right now west of I-49, but it's moving so quickly that I think if you live east of 49, you might want to just assume you are under a severe thunderstorm warning. It wouldn't be bad just start making some of those safety precautions. Let's talk about the River Valley. Of course, very important to us here. Look, there's nothing severe right now. That's the good news, but you're about to get a pretty strong thunderstorm. Sallisaw got really heavy rain, a lot of lightning and a lot of thunder, and probably winds that are pretty darn gusty, but may just be just shy of that severe weather threshold, and that's why we don't have any warnings in effect. LaFleur County, you're about to see the leading edge of the main line move through as well. You've got some scattered activity out ahead of it. It's gusty. It's probably got some heavy downpours, but that's not severe. Winds will pick up with that line segment moving into the area, crossing the Arkansas-Oklahoma state line, probably within the next hour or so. Alma, Fort Smith, Greenwood, Hackett, Mansfield, also going to be included in this potential path of this storm. Let's hope it stays below severe limits on that side of the storm. We would love to get as much rain as we could out of it without dealing with the severe weather. Looks like the Weather Service may have updated the warning, so let's get an idea of what the new status of that is. Anytime our warnings are flashing here, that means that there's some updates to pass along, and it looks like what we've got to pass along with this update, we've trimmed the western portions of Benton County and maybe the western sliver of Washington County. So as the threat passes, they're giving folks the all clear and canceling some folks from the warning. Still a good chunk of Bentonville, Rogers, Fayetteville, Springdale, Johnson, Greenland, Farmington, Prairie Grove, also included in the current severe thunderstorm warning. Got about 9 minutes to go with this specific warning, but it is racing off towards the east, and I'll tell you, I just see those winds aren't really dying down much. Velocity signatures are a bit concerning. The brighter those colors are, the faster the winds are blowing, and when you see really bright pinks like that, mixing with even some yellows, which is the top end of my scale here, that's some really concerning straight line winds. At radar level, we saw 75-mile-per-hour winds possible earlier. I want to go back and just want to work our way up and down that line to see what we've got coming out of it. Bella Vista, you've probably got 70-mile-per-hour winds. Radar detecting it moving into your area right now. Downtown Bentonville probably feeling those winds as well. 62 miles per hour coming out of that just to the west of Rogers, probably getting close to Taneytown around 60 miles per hour. And you might notice here, the further south we go on the southern end of that warning, look at that. Our wind speeds aren't as impressive on the southern end of that cell. So it really seems to be honing in on Benton County, parts of northern Washington County, where we're finding the strongest of the winds, at least as determined by Doppler radar. Of course, that's a little bit higher up than the surface. The radar doesn't see all the way to the ground, unfortunately, but we have enough good radar coverage that I suspect these numbers are holding pretty good. Looks like we're getting some updates there. Probably the leading edge is passing where I did those samples from. And so we'll see those numbers come down as that storm continues to race off towards the east. I would suspect an additional warning any moment for at least the eastern portions of Benton and Washington County. The Weather Service out of Tulsa is going to have to decide on that pretty quickly, just given the fact that we're about 7 minutes away from expiration of this specific storm. It's been a minute since I give you a little recap of what we're up to, so let's reset things here. This is Channel 5, and thanks for tuning in for us this morning. We're tracking a severe thunderstorm moving through northwest Arkansas, portions of the River Valley as well. Overall, we've got a large line of storms spanning southwestern Missouri, well back into south central Oklahoma that's been passing off towards the east. This line of storms responsible for numerous tornado warnings back off towards the west in parts of Oklahoma. We've been here for the last several hours tracking it get closer and closer and closer. And what we find, though, yes, it's severe at the moment, and it's severe in a way that we're getting a lot of wind, especially in northwest Arkansas, but it has had some slow signs of weakening. So does that mean I can give you the all clear yet? No, unfortunately not. But I can tell you that we're trending in a decent direction in terms of where these storms are going. Unfortunate reality is this is probably the first round of what will be a few rounds of rain and even some thunderstorms throughout the course of today. And then tomorrow, our severe weather threat is relatively high as well. While we're waiting on some more information to come in from Doppler radar, I'll show you this. Today's severe weather risk looks like this. We're actually only in a level 1 for a large majority of the area, although Sequoia, LaFleur, parts of Sebastian and Scott County under this level 2 risk for today. But look what's happening tomorrow. I'll tell you, I'm a little concerned about Monday. I'm concerned about tomorrow. Level 3 potential for strong to severe thunderstorms, including the risk of tornadoes across all of the area. Here in orange, this is going to be our level 3 potential, our level 3 severe zone. That's out of 5. So we're going to have to be really weather aware, not just today, but again tomorrow as well. Looks like I've got some new information. I'm going to go back to live radar first, put that up, and let me pull up what the Weather Service is telling me over here. So for parts of Crawford County, northwestern Sebastian, southeastern Sequoia, northeastern LaFleur County, looks like we're going to get winds at about 40 miles per hour. So you're not going to see a severe thunderstorm warning for that because that's below severe weather thresholds. That is only going to be issued when we go at 60 mile per hour or greater. But they are telling us that in this portion of the storm from Crawford back into northern LaFleur County, you probably got some 40 mile per hour gust coming out of that specific system. And that's going to include a large majority of Crawford and a large majority of Sebastian and LaFleur, Sequoia counties as well. So while not severe, certainly going to be pretty breezy out there as well. Tiffany up in the booth. I don't know if you can hear me. Maybe someone can pass along this information. Let's start the 6 o'clock newscast as normal, as scheduled. Myself, meteorologist Bella Grace will jump in there. Let's get the news rolling at 6 o'clock as folks expect us to, and we'll keep you posted, of course, throughout the course of the morning. In the meantime, we will continue tracking this storm. At that point of which we start the 6 o'clock newscast, we're going to have to end the Facebook Live, but we're going to be for you on streaming on 5 Plus. That's our free mobile app. You can download onto your cell phones. You can download that on your Roku, your Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV. If we're ever on Channel 5, we're on those platforms there as well. So once that newscast starts, if you are joining us via the internet this morning, good morning to you. Hope you got that extra hour of sleep. Hope you're waking up rested. Unfortunately, Mother Nature wanting to get us all up a little bit early this morning with a severe thunderstorm warning now moving through parts of Washington, Benton, and Crawford counties. This is set to expire in about 4 minutes. I keep anticipating an additional warning, only given the fact that those winds coming out of that storm are pretty strong. We'll go back and take another look at velocity for us. And yet again, we continue to see pretty bright radar returns on the leading edge of this storm. I know this can be a little bit messy. This is what the radar is detecting as storm winds. And this is a product that we use a lot to identify areas of rotation. So we'll start with that. I don't see any. That's the good news right now. But I'll tell you, if there's anything that I don't trust, I've got serious trust issues with line segment storms like this, these squall lines. These can produce tornadoes really quickly with little to no notice at times. And one of the things you watch for when you're looking for potential areas of rotation along a leading edge of like this, you look for little kinks in the line, little eddies. That's where you can get that circulation to spin up real quickly. There's a little bit of a kink here just to the west of Fayetteville. The rotation's not happening, but that's where I would expect it to potentially be. As expected, there's that new severe thunderstorm warning. This is going to include eastern parts of Benton, eastern portions of Washington County that wasn't otherwise included in the first warning, and a good chunk of Madison County. This is where our severe winds are likely to be the most. The Weather Service projects those winds now at about 60 miles per hour. So we continue to see that sign of weakening, but that's still severe, right? Also looking at the potential of 3/4 size inch hail with that specific storm. I want to update you. I'll give you the details of the warning here. It's going to pop up in any second. And what it's going to tell us is not only do we see that potential for 60 mile per hour winds, here's your hail speed. All of this remains radar indicated. It includes the towns of Fayetteville, Lowell, Rogers, Springdale, Huntsville, Goshen, Elkins, Winslow also included in that new severe thunderstorm warning. Hinesville also included in this new severe thunderstorm warning. So if you're located within that warning polygon, you got some strong winds moving your direction. Let's hope they continue to weaken, but right now it's pretty breezy. I can in fact hear them picking up here at our station just outside of this, what's supposed to be soundproof studio. Folks up in the booth, I'm going to be looking to you for directions on how we want to roll into the 6 o'clock newscast. So at any point you want to pass those along to me, I will certainly welcome some guidance. In the meantime, I'm going to continue tracking this storm. Okay, say that one more time, Dan. Right, and that's and we will end the stream and proceed with our 6 o'clock newscast as regularly scheduled. So at any point you're ready for that, you just take it away, or you tell me what you need from me. Okay, you just tell me when. For the folks at home, thanks for letting me talk to the folks up in our booth. They are fantastic folks that make this all possible, makes this